there's a mitzvah to wear tzitzis. What is that mitzvah? Mitzvah to wear tzitzis. So the way the Torah puts it is that when you have a beged, you have a clothing that has four corners, which is quite uncommon today to have a regular clothing that you wear that has four corners, but it might have been much more common back then to have a cloak that's wrapped around you that had four corners. But today we make special talesim and tzitzis that have four corners in order to do the mitzvah. But the ikar mitzvah was that if you have a clothing that has four corners, that you put onto a tzitzis. That's the mitzvah. Now, that's the way it says it in the Torah. You have four-cornered beged, you put on tzitzis, which means really that technically I don't have to go ahead and put on tzitzis. It's only if I happen to have such a clothing. It's like if I have a house, I have to put on a mezuzah. If I don't own a house, I don't have to put on a mezuzah. If I'm not living in a house, midrabanan, I don't have to put on a mezuzah. But if you have a house that criteria doesn't demand a mezuzah, let's say you don't have rooms that are large enough, you don't have doors, you don't have doorposts, whatever, you have such kind of house, so then you wouldn't put up a mezuzah. So the mitzvah is only once I have this, that requires a tzitzis. So that's the ikar halacha midaraisa in the pasuk. Now we wear tzitzis other times, either all day or by davening. We wear tzitzis and we make a bracha when we put it on. And the first halacha in Shulchan Aruch says Yisatif b'tzitzis, you should wrap himself in tzitzis, v'yivarach mu'umid, and you should make a bracha standing up. So there seems to be a push to wear tzitzis to the extent where the Mishabur writes, Miyad achar natil sidayim kadei shelo yelach dal ramas b'lo tzitzis. He should put it on right away in the morning, so he doesn't walk 4 cubits without tzitzis. So that's to the other extreme. But just to understand the question here, I bring it here, but Tosfos Sacham actually brings down, there's a Gemara in Menachos. Menachos says that a person is not punished for not wearing tzitzis because he has no mitzvah to wear tzitzis, only if he has a four-cornered garment. But be'idin rischa, the Gemara says, when there's an anger out there in the world, okay, there's an anger. In other words, in the time when things are happening, the melacha-creative-work is out there, or there's some danger, a person is in dangerous situations, we call it the idin rischa, the time where Hashem is, so to say, upset. Then a person could be punished for not wearing tzitzis, even though he's not wearing a four-cornered beged. So, even though he has no chiyuv to wear it, but he could be punished for not wearing for not putting on himself the obligation of wearing tzitzis in a time where there's anger out there.
Is it a punishment, or is it that tzitzis give you like protection?
It sounds like that it's a einish. It sounds like it's actually a punishment. So in other words, there is a sort of a push to a person should wear the tzitzis, and therefore he won't get punished. He wasn't over a mitzvah, he won't get punished, but in a time when there's anger out there, that could be thrown into the pile. And he didn't wear tzitzis, you know. So that's. But there seems to be two Tzit and Tosfos Sacham over there, which debates this question whether there's actually a chiyuv for a person to, whether the person has a chiyuv to be mahader, to run after. In other words, today is very simple. You just walk to Miriam's or to wherever you're walking. You walk in and you buy a pair of tzitzis. It's very simple to buy one. But in the old days, it wasn't that simple. You had to go make yourself a beged that was four-cornered. You got to go find the tzitzis and buy it and put it together, and it was a tremendous tircha, perhaps. So the question is, were you mechuyev to go do it? Some mitzvahs, you're not mechuyev to go run after. If it's not sitting in front of you, I don't have to do it. You know, when he comes to your door, you have to give him tzedakah. But maybe you don't have to go run after a guy to give him tzedakah. You know, there's mitzvahs that you have to, a lulav and esrei. Okay, you have a chiyuv to do it, so you're going to have to run around and then go buy a lulav and esrei and find one, even if it's hard to come by. So the question is, the Tosfos says over there, has two starting whether a person has to run after to go find a pair of tzitzis to wear one, or perhaps not. Maybe he doesn't have to run after. If he's in a place where there's no tzitzis around, how crazy does he have to make himself to go find the pair, to find the talis, to find the tzitzis. So that's the question of Tosfos. It seems to be two it. But this is the thing. But Moshe goes even so far to say that since it's so common to wear and everybody wears it today, that sort of became like a chiyuv. So that even if Tzit Eliezer actually has a long tshuva on this, he wrote to someone. To write chelik here. He has a tshuva on this. If I can find it. Here. So it's a chiyuv ulechas betalas cotton kol hayom. So he brings the lashon of Shulchan Aruch over here first. Shulchan Aruch writes here, Sifchet Daled. Yeah. He writes over here, and Hogas Levishes of Schar Vainsha. So it says like this. It's actually Shulchan Aruch actually has a simon on this. He writes like this: if a person doesn't wear a talis, doesn't wear clothing that has four corners, he's not chayiv in tzitzis. He says like this: V'toy v'nachin, it's good and proper that each person should be careful, v'yazar, to wear a talis cotton every day. So why? So we should remember the mitzvahs. The purpose of wearing tzitzis, remember the mitzvahs. We'll get into this soon. Every moment. And that's why there are 5 knots, connected to 5 chamashim, and 4 corners, because whatever side, whichever side you turn, you're going to remember the mitzvah. Wherever way you look. Wherever you look, you should remember the mitzvah. But Nachon, we'll come back to that later. So that's, he says the lashon v'nachin. It's proper you should wear it. It doesn't say you have to wear it every day. It says it's proper that a person should be careful to wear it every day. The lashon of Torah is a little stronger. Every moment a person needs to remember, therefore he should wear it. But nonetheless, that's the Lo'ilam Yeh. The Lashon Rambam is a person should be zar b'mitzvah sisis. So there's the Ibn Ezra actually writes in Parsha Shlach. The Ibn Ezra writes, brings down here, the mitzvah kol mishesh habeg b'akanav sheyischas b'yoyim tamid always v'lo yisirenu me'olav. You should never remove it from him. L'man yizkru, so you should remember. And then he says, v'yoyser hu chayiv l'sata b'tzitz b'shar hashois mishas atfila. So he says, Ibn Ezra says it's more important that he should put on tefillah, tzitzis, the other hours, rather than tefillah, that he should remember. You should remember the mitzvahs. In other words, when you're davening, you're remembering the mitzvahs. So when you're not davening, you might forget. So there's a bigger reason the guy should wear it all day than during davening.
You should wear tzitzis out, otherwise it's help to remember.
So we're going to get to that, sticking it out in a minute. So, but nonetheless, that there's a special reason we put on the talis b'shas davening also. Put on talis b'shas davening, but that's the idea. So the idea is, even though it's hard to say that this guy's mechuyev to, because unless you're wearing actually a 4-corner beggar, you're not actually mechuyev, but it's proper and perhaps even mandated that a person should wear a tzitzis all day. And this way, b'shas rischa, he could be punished on it. It seems that there's a cause that he should wear it. Now, so the question is, what about sticking it out, wearing it out? Wearing it out, where does a person wear it on top? You see the Hasidim wear the whole tzitzis on top of their clothing, right? So it's actually a hot topic, so to say, where to wear the tzitzis. Well, the yeshiva. Because the Mishabura is very machmer on this. The Mishabura writes like this. Shabur writes, Mechaber says, Iker mitzvahs talis cotton loishay al begadav. The lashon of Mechaber is should wear on your clothing. Kadesh tamid yirehu should always, for that reason, you should see it. You see the tzitzis, it reminds you. So now, there's two things before we get to that. But he says like this, because it says Ru'isim Isa, you should see it. Was a chatim, you should remember. And then he goes on a tangent here to Mishabura, and those people that stick the tzitzis into their pants, not enough that they're hiding their eyes from what the Torah says, you should see it, they're being mevazah the mitzvah Hashem. Because he doesn't like that it's under the pants, that it's not a makam covered, it's against the skin, under the pants, he doesn't like that. That's a bizui mitzvah he held. And he goes on to say that the mavazah, the mitzvah, and what they say, they're going between the goyim. Okay, so stick the tzitzis into the corner. I don't know what he means by this. In the tzitzis, a lot of times they have these corners. So sometimes they wouldn't actually sew. You have an extra cloth put around it. Yeah. So they would make a little pocket out of it, and you would actually turn the tzitzis and stick it into that pocket. If you're worried that you didn't want your work, you go out in the workforce and there are a lot of goyim there, and they make fun of you and they look down at you. So he says, so stick it in there rather than stick it into your pants. That's what the Mishabur writes.
In Poland, back in the time when he lived, in Poland, you were at big risk of being beaten up if they knew you were Jewish.
It's also true. But it seems like in his days to put it in the pants was more of a bizayin than today. I don't know if they had the same undergarments that we have.
Yeah.
So therefore it was a bigger bizayin, and therefore he felt that he should put it in the corner, rather.
Ramp it up.
He says if you got let's say you got a necklace, so you're gonna wear it under your clothing, you put it on top. You got a necklace from someone dear, you're going to put it underneath, you wear it on top. Unless you're walking around the Bronx, But this is the Mishabura. Now, on the flip side, the halacha right before that in the Mishabura, he brings down Ubeksav Misa from the Arizal. Now, the Mechaber wrote to put it on top of your clothing. Put the whole beggar on top of your clothing. Ksavim Misa tells cotton tachas begadav. Okay, in Ksavim, in the Arizal it says to wear the tzitzis under your clothing, like we do, wear it under the clothing. Now the Mogan Avram writes on that okay, that's just the actual tzitzis, but the actual beged, but the tzitzis should be sticking out. Okay, so the Arizal and the Ksavim seem to write to put it underneath their shirt, and the but Mogan Avram writes on that Akaponim, the tzitzis should be sticking out, and not those that stick it into the corners. But if you go between the goyim, you're yotzei. But he writes like this: but b'shas the bracha, they should be out. So in other words, which usually is the case, you make the bracha when you put on. We'll see when you make the bracha. But he says b'shas the bracha, they should be out. But if you're going between the goyim and you don't want it to stick out, so you stick it in the corners again. But b'shas the bracha, it should be out. But you see two interesting things here. First thing we see is that there's a question whether the actual baguette should be on top or underneath. Okay? And those that wear it underneath, there's a whole question whether, you sweat on it and it's a bezayin, it gets all sweated. Well, today we have undershirts, so it's not so bad, you have an undershirt in between. But that's one issue. But which the Mechaber seems to say to wear it on top, and the Arizal says to say put it underneath. And on that, Mogan Avram says the tzitzis should be sticking out. But if you're going among goyim and you can't wear it out, so you stick it in. But at least b'shas the bracha it should be out. Remember, I can't find it inside, but Rabbi Moshe, they say from Rabbi Moshe didn't know where this came from. He says, "What are you talking about?" The pasuk that says "Re'isim Moshe" is not referring to tell us that. It's not telling us that you have to wear your tzitzis out. The pasuk is telling me that a suma's potter. There's different haladrashas the Gemara makes on Re'isim Moshe. It's the days, out of the nights. The suma's potter. Different drashas. It's not telling me at all that you have to stick your tzitzis out. We can't make our own drashas, and therefore he says that there's no such halacha. No such halacha. Your tzitzis has to be out. Yes, there's the mussar there is. You're supposed to see it, so he reminds you of the mitzvah, the tama mitzvah. But in the halacha, it doesn't say it. So a lot of the Ramoshinikers don't badafka wear the tzitzis out, and a lot of the Sfardim actually wear the tzitzis in because of the Kisvei Arizal, and they don't learn like the Magen Avram that says that the talus is underneath, but the tzitzis is sticking out. They learned that Arizal, everything is underneath. So on one side of the cord you have the Arizal and the Sfardim that learn it's all underneath, but mitzat sheni, the Ashkenazim Poskim, Sarge and Moshe, are very machmir that it should be sticking out, because that's the ikar tam of the mitzvah. So that's the discussion on that. Now we actually, which we'll get to later, we actually don't make a bracha. Those that wear a talus by davening, we don't make a bracha on a talus cotton. We yoitz it with our talus gadol, even though it could be a few hours later. You put on the talus cotton in the morning, and you first put on the talus gadol and come to shul. But we're some kinds of machlokes we'll see. But we make the bracha on a talus gadol, and we have in mind the talus cotton. We'll see soon. But this is. But he's saying b'shas the bracha it should be actually sticking out. Before we get into those questions, we're going to go into one shaila here. What kind of clothing is mechuyev in tzitzis? Okay. Now, so the halacha sounds like this: it's not chayiv in tzitzis min haTorah, ela begodim pishtim, either linen or shel tzemer or wool. The only two clothing that are the first shita here. The first shita says the only two clothing that are chayiv in tzitzis is either linen or wool. Aval big day shar minim ein chayavim b'tzitzis ela midrabanan. We learned this out of Negoim. This certain Negoim could get tzaras, right? In the Parashat tzaras, you could have tzaras on a person, you could have tzaras on their house, you could have tzaras on begodim. So it says there, Tzemer oy pishtim, is a pasuk. So that's what's called beged. So whatever it says in the Torah, beged, we learn out from there, it means either wool or linen. Everything else is not considered a beged. And we know also that it says in the Torah that you're not allowed to wear shatnez, you're not allowed to wear wool and linen together, but you're allowed to wear wool on tzitzis. You're allowed to have shatnez on tzitzis because that we learn out of the pasuk, the smichas. So you could put on shatnez on tzitzis, which would mean you have a linen clothing and you could put on a wool tzitzis. Okay, so that's have a lot of shatnez in that. Now, and why do you have to have wool tzitzis? Why can't you put on linen tzitzis? The answer is because when they wore tcheles could only be put on wool. So while you could wear, just like the beged could be linen, so the tzitzis itself could also be linen. Tzitzis could be linen. So that's only true on the white. But when they had tcheles and they wore tcheles, the tcheles, chutim of tcheles, those strings of tcheles had to be wool. You can't, the tcheles on linen doesn't work. So when the Torah says you could put tzitzis on linen clothing, how are you going to put tzitzis on linen clothing? It's going to have to be shatnez. So you see that allows the shatnez. Now,
why is that shatnez though? It's not woven into the baguette.
It's tied on, yeah.
It's tied on.
It's tied on,
is that
yeah.
shatnez? I mean, derabbanan, yeah, but daraisa.
It's daraisa also, yeah. It's tied on, but not. It's considered one baguette. Considered a baguette. You can wear it on Shabbos outside, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's the first shita. And the first shita ends off, but big day shar minim eina chayavim b'tzitzis. Other cloth are not chayav b'tzitzis ela midrabanan. So rabbinically, there's a chiyuv tzitzis even on other cloths. So let's say cotton tzitzis, right? In the summer, you want to wear cotton tzitzis, it's cooler. So if you wear a cotton baguette that has four corners, you'd have to put on tzitzis midrabanan. Okay, now the Ramah brings here, v'yei shaymrim, the kulu chayavim midaraisa, all begodim are chayav daraisa, v'hachi hilchsa, we pass it, that's the halacha. Hachi hilchsa. So the Shaila of the Gemara, that's how it comes out. So, So everybody holds other begonim have to have tzitzis also. The question is that doraisa or is that only rabbinic? According to the first sheet, the doraisa is only wool and linen, and according to the second sheet, and the rest are drabanan. And according to the second sheet, everything is drabanan. Everything is doraisa. So the question is, so let's say, so the Mishnah ends off here, v'yirah shemayim. If you want a guy's a yirah shemayim, so he should be yachmer al atzmai lochash hadei rishayna. He should be machmer on himself to be yotze to the first shita. V'yas a tal shel semer, in order that he should be chayv and tzitzis min ha-Torah. And then he ends off. So in other words, you want to do it right. You want to do the doraisa chiyuv. So therefore, you should be mach. Even though the Ramah says the halacha is like the second shita, that other tzitzis are also chayv min ha-Torah, but Yerushalayim should be machmer on himself to be yotze the first shita and to try to wear a wool beged in order that he should get the mitzvah doraisa. And then he ends off the Mishnah and it's proper that he should make side of talis gadol and the talis cotton should all be wool. So they asked the Shiloh to Rabbi Moshe, in the summers it gets quite hot and you don't want to wear wool beged, could you wear cotton? So it's interesting, I didn't bring this one chaylik, but Rabbi Moshe,
Didn't you also talk about rayon?
We'll get to that. So Moshe writes on that the Lilvash b'yamam chamen beged dak hanasim miminim she'enim chamen, like cotton. So he says, according to the Shittas, that cotton is doraisa, for sure you can wear it. There's no question. The question is, according to the first Shitta here, that he says, so he says to wear, let's say, the talis gadol, you're going to wear once a day, it should be wool. But it's something you're going to wear the whole day, so there, again, it's not a chiv gomer, because you don't have to wear a whole day tzitzis. It's only because be'idin mischa, you can get punished for that. So he says, yesh lismach al Ramah, so he says, you don't have to be, you could be soymach on the Ramah that says the halacha is that cotton is chayv d'oraisa. For this to do the whole day, you can wear cotton. But then he ends off, if you want to be machmer and wear wool the whole day, you get a bracha. The Moshe himself in Camp Staten Island, he would wear the cotton tzitzis. You see him sitting outside, he'd wear it over, they had pictures of wearing over his clothing. He'd put on the tzitzis, cotton tzitzis he wore over the beged. It was very hot there, and I guess it bothered him, and he wore the cotton. So so even though he writes here that Bal Nefesh HaMachmer Tovel Bracha, I guess it depends on the situation, if it's hot. But it could be Soymach Ad Ramah and wear the cotton. Now the question is, what about everything else? Today we have lots of clothing made out of all kinds of plastic. Nylon, I don't know, rayon. What's rayon?
An earlier version of nylon.
Yeah, nylon, rayon. You have all these things, polyester. You have all these kinds of plastic clothing. Where does that fit in hilchos tzitzis? And this question is not just for tzitzis. This question is for hilchos beged. Any time where the Torah requires a beged. I mean, today we don't have hilchos tumah and Torah straight away, but it will be a question of makabel tumah. So in other words, a beged. A kli is makabel tumah, clothing is makabel tumah. Someone tummy touches it, something can become tummy, but something that's not a beged is not makabel tumah. This halacha is relevant for ksamim on a woman. The tum gets on a beged, it has to be something that's makabel tumah. If it's polyester, nylon, these things are not makabel tumah, maybe. So then wouldn't be included. In other words, anything that the Torah requires a beged. The question is, are these things included? So what's the question? The question is like this. The Torah says, beged or. So something else that's makabel tumah besides the clothing, and that's leather. Leather is makabel tumah. Your shoe is leather. A jacket, you have a leather jacket. It's makabel tumah. But the Torah splits it up. It says beged, of clothing, or leather. So we learn from this that or is not a beged. Leather is not a beged. Okay? So why is leather not a beged?
They don't make a thread out of it.
Because they don't make a thread out of it. It's something which is by itself. It's a skin. You use it. That's not a beged. A beged is something that's woven, something that's put together. So the question is, how do we view nylon? Is nylon looked at as a leather, or is it looked at like like cotton or anything else? That's the question. So Moshe has a tshuva on this, and he says, "Upashet." It's pashet to him. Sha'af im osem me'ha'oret suis takas. Even if you would take this leather, let's say you would take the leather and make thin strands out of it and weave a beged out of leather. So in other words, not the leather type of jacket that you have, which is a straight leather. It's actually woven and made into strings and made into leather. He says it's pashet that afim osem me'ha'oret suis takas kachutim va'orgim va'osa beged hu bedin beged or shepatim mitzitzis. That it's not considered a beged. Just because it's woven doesn't make it a beged. The material itself is not considered a material that could be a beged. And he brings a raya from the Rash and the Rav in Perek Chav Zayin Mekalim on or and sak. Sak is also considered a sack. It's made out of canvas or something. So that's considered a beged that's woven.
Well, wasn't that made out of goat hair?
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Goat hair is wool. What?
No, goat hair is goat hair. It's a coarser.
It's a different thing.
Very coarser weave. No. Heft is rolled from the ground.
Yeah.
But they used to. I think the stuff was made of goat hair.
Or could be.
Or something. Yeah.
So it says that it's matama mishum orig. That's matama orig. So he says or. So the Rash speaks out specifically in Kalim that if you take the or and you make it into strings and you weave this clothing out of it, it's not makabel tumah. It doesn't have it in beged. So he learns that it's pashet. It's not considered ariga. He says. Beged and Ryan should be the same thing. He's Lashon Rambam. Now he says, even though you can make a chiluk, and you could say, well, or since normally it's used straight, so it's not the normal way to use it to make it into strings, so maybe that's why it's not called a beged. But perhaps nylon, polyester, these things are not necessarily used straight. Maybe if you make strings it would be a beged. He says no, it's not a chiluk, and therefore it's pasha to him that all these clothing are not chayiv and tzitzis, period. Not midiraisa, not midrabanan. You have a polyester square clothing, you don't have to put on tzitzis. It's not makabel tumah at all.
Is tzemer any animal hair?
Tzemer is wool. No, tzemer is from rechelim. Yeah.
Just a sheep.
Yeah, sheep.
So
or,
like an alpaca or
anything from that family.
Animals.
Anything from that family. I don't know what.
No, alpaca is not a sheep, though.
No.
I'm not sure it's kosher.
So if you had like an alpaca four-corner garment.
Well, let's take it's a camel.
Camel
is a garment, but it's not shatnez.
Oh, right. Sema gemalim is not considered.
So is that a beged?
It'll be a beged if it's woven, but it's that'll be the machlokes if it's the rice or the rabbanon. Here,
yeah.
So the Tzit Eliezer. What?
Hashem made a beged for Adam out of ore.
You fork meat.
Kasnasar.
Huh?
It doesn't use the word beged there.
Oh.
It doesn't use the word beged. It's a covering. Yeah.
What if the big day kahuna had gold threaded on?
Yeah, so the question is, but it also had roiv was roiv made out of wool.
Okay.
Now, so he brings down this truth. Actually, brings down the truth from Rabbi Moshe. That's Tzit Eliezer, and he says that says not so pashut. He says the Rambam, even though the Moshe himself brings the Rambam, but he's madchel loshen. But he says the Rambam, even though the Rash says if you take the leather straps and you weave it, you make it into clothing, it would not be considered a beged.
Right.
But the Rambam's not mashma like that. The Rambam's loshen is the reason why the reason why or is not a beged is because it's not woven. So he says the reason why or is not a beged because specifically because it's not woven. So therefore he wants to say that and his Medayik and other Lashonis from other Rishonim and Lavush, that anything that's woven would yet be considered a beged. And therefore to him, he says it's pashut to him that if it's woven, it would be a beged and would actually be chayv and tzitzis.
Like polyester.
Yeah.
So the one that's like a raincoat that would be, let's say, plastic, that's one complete sheet, so that's pashut, it wouldn't be chayv. That everybody agrees it wouldn't be chayv. The question is, if you have something that's woven, then you would get into this machlokes, whether there's a chiyuv.
They sell them today.
What is they do sell?
They sell, I don't know, you know those ones for the sports with the, like they're very open, I don't know what that's made of.
The net made? It's probably made out of cotton. I think it's made out of nylon? I don't know.
Bring it in.
Or a Kevlar jacket.
A Kevlar jacket.
Right? It's 4 corners. Right? You have to have tzitzis on it. What's woven out of?
But they sell in the bookstores. Those ones that
Rabbi
are,
Scheiner, is there any comments about non-woven fabrics? That's like the new trend, especially for disposables when you go to a doctor and they give you these little robes of everything. That's something.
What is it?
It's called non-woven fabrics.
What is it? It's like loved. It's like pressed together.
Yeah.
It's loved. We'll have to see about that. Lavudim. Something which is pressed together.
like felt.
Felt, yeah.
Felt, yeah.
Could be that is a felt. Could be a beged. It's pressed together. So that's with other begodim. So something which is made out of other things, you enter yourself into this machlokes, whether b'chalal it's a beged. And it's relevant for other halachas also besides tzitzis, but it comes up here by tzitzis. The tzitzis, that's the beged. The tzitzis, we said before, goes like this. Wool could pater any beged. Or pishton, but pishton you have other problems with. Wool, we don't generally put pishton on because of shatnez issues. Okay, wool you could put on because of the tchelos, but we generally don't put the pishton strings on, a tzitzis, because we don't want to get into the shatnez issue. Now, so even if the tzitzis, even if the beged's made out of cotton, let's say, but choshish maybe it's made out of wool, you don't know about it, you get confused. So generally speaking, we put on wool tzitzis. All the tzitzis are made out of wool. But if you have a beged of a specific kind, for example, let's say you have a cotton beged, then you could put cotton tzitzis on that. Each min paters its own min. So linen will pater linen, cotton will pater cotton, camel wool will pater camel wool. You know, the same min. Or if you hold nylon as chayiv, I don't know if you can make the tzitzis out of nylon.
Why, if you make thread?
Maybe you could make a thread. So that nylon will pater nylon if you hold it chayiv maybe. But wool could pater everything else. So you could always put the wool tzitzis on any type of beged, but you can't put cotton on the wool, obviously. Even if you hold cotton as chayiv in the rice, you can't put cotton on the wool. You could only put the type of beged, the type of tzitzis for that type of beged. It has to be, we call it has to be min haknaf. It has to be the same type as the corner.
And that's the rice, what else Rabbana? In other words, that whole drasha is going according to the Holy Month of Amar, which says that everything is chayiv tzitzis.
Yeah, if you hold drop on them, do they have that? I don't see a chiluk here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Well, now this actually has an interesting takeoff over here, which min aknaf, which was Yashav Rice in his tshuva. He had a tshuva about the tchelis that they came out with. This debate started back when the Regina came out with his tchelis actually originally. So the question was, On the tzad that it's not chelas, maybe it's not chelas, and on that tzad it's not chelas, are you doing anything wrong by putting it on? We're not going to go into the question whether it's chelas. That's one question. But the question is the flip side. Let's say it's not chelas, but I want to put it on because let's say a suffix, maybe I could be yaitza, so I'll put it on. Is there anything wrong with putting the chelas on? Are you doing anything wrong?
You're saying today?
Yeah, let's say. We don't know. Let's say we don't know if it's chelas. There's a chance maybe it's chelas. So I'll put it on just to take the chance. Am I doing anything wrong? So that's a whole discussion. But Yashiv writes in his tshuva just on this topic here. He writes in his tshuva that you have a problem that it's not min ha-kanaf. In other words, it has to be the same color also. So if you ever noticed the talesim have black stripes on it, right? Why do they have black stripes on it? They're really supposed to be tchelas stripes on it. Because since when you wear tchelas, so we want it should be min ha-kanaf, it's the same color. So you have white strings and you have blue string, blue, green, whatever color it is, strings hanging on your tzitzis. So you have the same thing on the baguette. The same color. Same color. So that's where the stripes come from. Well, we don't have tchelas, so we make it black. Make it black. But
It's going to be all white?
The Sephardic where it's white.
The tzitzis is all white, shouldn't...
Yeah, okay, the baguette is basically white, that's fine. So but that's the question. The question is that considered a problem of mimin at-chelas, mimin at-kanaf? So it's a chiddush.
Why the black stripes? Because during backends were chelas. This is blue. So the colors would have blue stripes, so that the min kanaf would be white and blue.
And it doesn't have to be all blue.
Well, no, your tzitzis are white and blue.
Here. So it's actually Machaber Shulchan Aruch says here in halacha-theory, yeshayimim shetzarach lasos hatzitzis mitzeva hatalis. So let's say, for example, you have a red cloak you're wearing and it has 4 corners. So you should make your tzitzis red. Okay? V'amadaktikim nohigin kain. Hagar Ramah says no. Ashkenazim ain't nohigim lasos tzitzis rak levanu. They're only white.
Right.
So the Ramah says we only make it white.
So therefore, if you want the yaitz on all the sheetas, maybe for white baguette, and you have white tzitzis, and you yaitz all the sheetas.
Yeah. So he says why? So the Mishnah Berurah brings 2 reasons. Mitzevat house, Mishum Zeh Kollel Vanvei looks nice. It's the same color, it's different colors. It looks so nice. So the reason why they make it the same color is because of Zeh Kollel Vanvei. For Yesh Mefarshim Mishum Beinin Bazeh Mimin HaKnaf. Has to be the same type as the knaf, has to be the same color.
So why are tzitzis black and white? If you have a black stripe?
Basically it's white. Basically the talus is white, yeah. Prima Gadam. Anyways, we go like the Ramah, and we make everything white. This is a Prima Gadam. So it's a chiddush a little bit to say that passes. If it doesn't have mimin knaf to make it possible. But Yashiv wants to go so far and say, well, you can't make it chelas because the talus isn't chelas, and therefore it's not mimin knaf and it's possible. But the other place can...
So put these chelas, whatever you're calling it, chelas, stripes in your talus.
So you could do that maybe, yeah. So it could be held that's not enough, the stripes. In other words, the mitzvah, the Torah says you have to put on chelas, so that doesn't obviously have to be min ha-knaf. The Torah says to put on chelas. But if it's not the chelas that the Torah says, so you start putting a paint on, so that would have to be the same color as your baguette. So, but that's a chiddush to say that it's ma'akev, that it passes. It's not much possible if you put it on, it's not min ha-knaf. The Iker Shita is, that's not the reason. The Iker Shita is the reason is for Zeh Kollel Vanvei, but that's just a sniff to this halacha of min ha-knaf. It's the same type.
If you're going with the Ramah, your tzitzis have to be white.
Yeah, so he holds white's good.
No, but if you go with the Ramah, so the tzitzis have to be white, then you only have to put on anything is the chelas. Otherwise, you're spoiling that part of the halacha.
Here, this is what he says like this. Mikol Makim, the Mishnah Berurah brings down. Royal medactic lasis dafka dalut knafos oy talis cotton loven. You should make your talis white. Because we make the tzitzis white, like the Ramah says. So in order to be yoytze all the shittas, you should make your talis white. Gamisham neksivu levusher katelik chiver. Umasha svasa beged. This at the corner is ke'en tchelas betalisa is shalanu. I guess they had some color around the edges of the talis. He says that doesn't bother us because basu ikar beged azlina. They go basu the main beged. So the main thing is white. We make it white, and then we put the tzitzis on the white to be yotze all the shitas. that's one of the. Okay, so that's halacha. So basically today most tzitzis are made. The talis are all made out of wool.
Right.
This way the tzitzis can be made out of wool, and that's the best way to do it to get the deraisa for all shitas. And the tzitzis is okay, but if the wants to wear cotton, it's okay because he's anyways wears the talis during the day some point, which is wool, and to be to that shita. And for the Ramah, that would be enough. But to wear other types of things, the nylon and other things, that's not necessarily lechatchila. The question with the undershirt tzitzis, okay, the undershirt tzitzis question is what?
The little sole in.
Okay, that's one issue. We're not going to get to this week. We're going to get to that a different week. How you do four corners, what's called the four-cornered beggar. We'll have to get into that. But just on this, we said some people wear the talisim on top. One of the reasons is because of the sweat, because it's sweat. So the question is, even if you wear it underneath, you should put something in between the tzitzis and your body, because it's not covered for the, as it has tzitzis on it, it's not covered for the beggar. It gets all schwitzy. So the question is, they have these undershirt begadim, undershirt tzitzis. Befrat, people playing basketball, they like to wear it. They want to play basketball and they want to have maybe hockey here in Canada, and they want to have to wear tzitzis, so you put this on. That really gets ringed out, And the question is that the proper thing to do or not? Because on one hand you wear tzitzis, on the other hand you're schwitzing it up. Yeah. So it's a question. And for the children, they make it b'dafka, because for the children, you put the kids on. The kids aren't really chayv in tzitzis anyways, but they put the tzitzis on them, and it gets tangled in all directions, and it's hard to get on and off, and they're all in the back and choking on it from the neck. So they make these undershirts ones, they fit on and they stay on. So the truth is, for children, the guy's not his kids until he's 7, 8, he's not chayv in tzitzis anyways, So the whole thing is not really tzitzis. And when he gets to that age, it's a good question. It's probably not lechatchila to wear the undershirt. One could argue, well, maybe perhaps it's made lechatchila to be to absorb the sweat and to wash out, so maybe it's not so bad. It's not a bazayin. I don't know, but that's one of the questions of wearing these type of tzitzis. On one hand, it's cooler, it's easier. On the other hand, they get dirty quicker. Yeah, but akapadim, that's the question with that. I'm going to have to end a little early this week because it's the first day of this month, and have to get things started there. So, but then next week we're going to go into all types of clothing. If there's a real chashash, scarves, hats, kapotas, and all these things that you wear, if they're included in a chiv tzitzis or not, and how you get out of the question, out of the shilos and these types of begadim, and the question of when you make a bracha, how do you make a bracha, how do you put on your talis, a little more practical. You see different people doing different things. What's the proper way to put on your talis in the morning? You make the bracha. When you wrap yourself in it, l'satef, you make the bracha l'satef. And what does that mean? We're going to get into that Yetz Hashem next week. I'm slightly early. I'll get to come and give the shit.